Today I'm going to be doing a full review of the DoggCrapp training method. What is DoggCrapp? Now, DoggCrapp was one of the first programs to really pop off on the internet. It first appeared on a bodybuilding message board and got a lot of traction and really kind of blew up from there. It really appeared around the same time as some of its contemporaries such as 531 and Farrick's Grayskull. However, it didn't seem to gain the same level of traction or kind of household recognition that the other two programs got. DoggCrapp derives its name from Dante Trudell, the author of the program. He initially posted it on a bodybuilding forum with a throwaway username because he thought no one, other than maybe 5 or 6 people, would actually be interested. But when he went over his training methodology and how he structures his program, the engagement was through the roof, and he ended up with hundreds of responses asking questions and wanting to know more about how he trained. So I think now is the perfect opportunity to tell you just that. How is the program structured? A kind of classic A-B split, meaning that there are 2 workouts that you do. They both target different muscle groups and they are just repeated back to back. For instance, one week you may do A, B, A. The next workout you may do workout B, workout A, and then workout B. Essentially, it's just writing 2 workouts and alternating them. The A workout consists of chest, shoulder and triceps, as well as back width and back thickness. For back width it would be things like chin-ups, lat pull-downs. For things like back thickness you're talking about deadlifts, barbell rows, T-bar rows, etc. The B split is biceps, forearms, calves, hamstrings and quads. The main idea with the exercises is that you should select them along a line of exercises that can be easily loaded within this method. Now, Dante himself actually breaks it down in a full index of exercises, but the idea is to essentially do exercises that are a bit more compound driven. You know, you wouldn't want to be doing chest flies for your chest. You would probably want to be doing something like a dumbbell bench, a barbell bench press, something that's going to be a bit more loadable, something that you can fully display your strength on rather than, you know, trying to do the DoggCrapp method on cable lateral raises, for instance. Something unique with the AB structure is it's not AB as you or I will know it. He actually recommends having a total of 6 different workouts. So there are 3 different A workouts and there are 3 different B workouts. Now, the idea of them was the exact same. However, you would use the index that Dante provides and cycle out what variations you use. For instance, for quads, one week you might use barbell squats. The next week you may use leg press. The week after you may use dumbbell lunges. It is essentially used to mitigate the potential stress on the joints and systemic fatigue that you would experience by repeating the same lift over and over again. Because this program is intrinsically tied to training beyond failure, the author found it important to mitigate any concerns with recovery and maximise recoverability by changing the joint angles of lifts by changing their variations. He suggests this to avoid any burnout on the program. This really takes us to the meat and potatoes of the program that I haven't mentioned so far, and it is rest pause training, or cluster sets as some people know them. Essentially, with rest pause exercise, what you would do is train a given lift to failure. Take around 20 breaths or 20 seconds, whatever you like, and immediately jump back in. You would do this for a given number of mini sets within a greater larger set. So you wouldn't be taking the same amount of rest period that you'd be used to, maybe something 1 to 2 minutes. Instead, you're talking here maybe 20 to 30 seconds before immediately jumping back into the exercise and hitting failure. The author doesn't just leave you with this information and lets you go and make up a program with no boundaries. In his recommendations for the majority of the exercises, nearly all of them, he recommends performing it with a rep goal in mind, somewhere between 11 and 15 reps across 3 mini sets. The great thing about this is if you get 15 or more, you move the weight up, and if you get less than 11, then you know that the weight's probably too heavy for you to be doing, and then you can just take the weight back a little bit and try and climb back up again. Now, with this beyond failure approach, the author only recommends really running the program for 8 weeks at a time with 2 weeks of recovery. So you're not doing nothing in the recovery, but you're just essentially doing it a bit lower volume, lower intensity, and you won't take the lifts to failure for 2 weeks. So essentially a 10-week stretch, 8 weeks on, with a 2-week deload. What I like about the program, and there's a lot. I like the A-B split for its simplicity and the focus the program has on training to approximate failure. And training beyond that. I think any program that highlights training to failure, training with effort as the primary driving factor, is always going to be something that I'm a fan of. I think it's a great program for nearly anyone to use to break a plateau. Obviously, if you're a beginner or a novice, then this program's not for you, but if you're a beginner or a novice, you should just pick up a weight and grow muscle. If you've watched any of my videos before, you'll know that I really like plus sets. And I think the rest pause method employed in this program takes plus sets just a level up. It is employed very much in the same vein as plus sets, but it's the next logical progression. Essentially, it just allows you to recover just enough to immediately jump back in and get more reps, and you can essentially force yourself to grow like this. I like this because there's a purpose to it. The author keeps it very strength driven with the rest pause method. You know, there is a window of reps that you should be within, and if you're positively without it, you have to put the weight up, which is really nice to see. You know, a lot of programs, especially during this time when this was written, were really bad, and the progression was probably unachievable for most people, or the progression just kind of wasn't there. This was a time where many people were just using switching the variations up as a factor of progression, or just ham-fistedly adding on more volume to their workouts. Whereas this one, with that window of 11 to 15, with having a rep goal in mind, keeps the trainee completely on track with being honest with themselves and being honest with the weights that they can lift, and continually strives for the trainee to progress and use effort as the primary factor in their training. I always like to see when a program is written for the populace, which this kind of actually wasn't. It was just a guy discussing his training that turned into something. But when a program moves through the population, I like to see a level of auto-regulation, because I think Joe Blogs, I think the average person cannot cope with like a percentage or an RPE based program in the same way that a simplistic, auto-regulated approach, like rest pause, like plus sets. It keeps people honest, it keeps people aware of where failure is, and they keep a trigger on that, and they can then take that into their training, not just through this program, but into the long term. By having hard and fast rules like the 11 to 15 rep goal, having the 3 mini sets, it just allows people to remain optimally recovered to be able to run the program as written, while keeping them honest with how hard they actually need to try. What I don't like about the program. Now, this one's a bit of a cheap shot, to be honest with you, but I'll have to make it anyway. If you are advanced, if you're an advanced lifter and you're running this program, you cannot run it sustainably. The approach is far too aggressive and would probably leave you in the dirt if you ran it long term. Now, what I'll put a caveat onto that is that is exactly what the author had in mind. Is this program is very much a plateau buster. It's not something that is touted as a long-term training method. Now, in the kind of exact opposite vein of that, I don't like that some lifts are not on the DoggCrapp method. They aren't rest pause. I agree with most of these, to be honest with you. Some of the back thickness exercises, if you took them through the DoggCrapp method, you would see probably a lower back pain. And also the calf exercises. I think if you're doing calf exercises, you can't do them DoggCrapp method. I think that's probably too much, and as well, it's not something that you really want to do, or I think is that loadable in that way. You know, your calves are a small muscle group, and I think applying the DoggCrapp method to them wouldn't be wise. But getting to my main point here, the quads. This program has the quads excluded from the DoggCrapp method, and I can't really see as to why. I understand if you're advanced, of course, this makes sense. Dante Trudell himself would have been advanced when he wrote this program. The thing is often in these videos when I have to give a review of a program, I have to think about YouTube Fitness, and the primary viewers of YouTube Fitness and the people that are considering whether to take this program on board will be intermediates that are plateaued. And I think when intermediate that's plateaued, I think you could definitely apply the DoggCrapp method to your squats. And I think when this program is written like that, it just leaves some gains on the table for some people. I think taking squats to failure, or obviously in this case it could be leg press, hack squat, whatever, I think that it's probably not overly dangerous. It's not unrecoverable either. For instance, super squats, very famous program. Many people have run it with great success, and it has breathing squats in it. Now, a breathing squat is essentially where you would do your set as normal, and once you get to about 10 reps or whatever given number of reps, you stand, take about 4 or 5 breaths, and then come in and do another rep. 4 or 5 breaths, do another rep. 4 or 5 breaths, do another rep. And until you get all the way up to, in super squats, 20 reps. Now that's a very aggressive approach, but it is recoverable for most people. It's hard, it's difficult to do, but it is doable, and I think it isn't too much of an ask to squat once you're about 1 away from failure, rack the bar, take a couple of choppy breaths, come back in, take a couple of choppy breaths. The difference between this and super squats is if you apply the DoggCrapp method, you'd actually be allowed to rack it. So I think this having the quads excluded from the DoggCrapp protocol is maybe overly cautious for most people. You know, I think it is a program that is actually, despite being like a hardcore program, is quite conservative and quite responsible with the trainee. I think this comes obviously, as I've mentioned, to the author being advanced when he wrote it, and I don't know if he's natural or not. I've not looked into him enough, but enhanced lifters, especially obviously like advanced ones, when they train to failure, when they train like extremely hard, there is a greater risk of tendon issues, pec tears, muscle tears, etc. That maybe natural lifters don't run into, because when we lift, we not only strengthen our muscles, but we'll strengthen our tendons at the same rate, whereas when you're enhanced, your muscles will gain size and strength quicker than your tendons do. I think even advanced naturals, this could apply to, you know, obviously when if your squat is over £500 or, you know, 250 kilos, you're gonna run into recovery issues that maybe the guy that's squatting 140 won't feel. But my main point about this is, if you're an intermediate, even if you're a late intermediate, you can probably get away with pushing the boat out. And it's probably what you need to take you to the next level. I've used it with many clients and I've seen a lot of great results. I've seen a lot of guys gain a lot of size and strength in a short period of time. I can really vouch for this training method and can definitely see that it has real world application. Now, what I do have to mention is, anytime that I have had clients run this program, it has been on a modified version. So first and foremost, I use a split that is a bit more traditional than what DoggCrapp lays out. It is a bit more similar to something that you'd have seen in Grayskull or kind of any of your classic powerlifting programs, you know, like 5x5s and stuff like that. I have a bit more of a similar squat, bench, overhead deadlift type of structure when I have written these. I've also modified it so that instead of an A-B split that needs to be cycled out with variations constantly, that I have just made an A-B-C split. I think this has allowed everyone that I've worked with enough recovery that they've been able to keep their variations the same, and because the variations have been the same, they've not only seen the size, but it's been very specific for their main compound lifts. I think something that I do kind of throw out and maybe criticise into the main programme is that with the AB structure, it kind of creates its own problem and then solves it. ABA kind of style of training can be pretty hard to recover through, because you're repeating the same exercises throughout the week. You know, for instance, if you're training 3 days a week, you're training the same exercise twice. Whereas altering it to be an ABC type of split means that if you're squatting on your A workout, which is Monday, you don't need to squat until next Monday. So I think the recovery factor is then felt, as opposed to creating all these different variations but then also running it on an AB. It's, in my opinion, needlessly complex, and maybe it's complex because it's aimed at an advanced lifter, because this was literally just a guy's kind of training log that turned into something bigger. But I think most people could actually just get away with an ABC split and not really feel any loss to the recovery. Lastly, something I do a little bit different is I put more of the main compound lifts, basically all of them, on the DoggCrapp method. Other than that, the program remains much the same, and I think it's a great method. I think it works for a lot of people, and I could really recommend it as a program. It definitely gets my seal of approval. I myself will be running the program non-modified as written this year, so if that's a video that you'd like to see, just let me know and I'll get on that. Now, if these videos interest you, if you've liked this video, then please like the video, subscribe to hear more program reviews, and click the notification bell so you can always stay updated with my new releases.